Hello, hello. How are y'all today? Can't get this phone to stay. It's literally on some plastic with some old resin on it. Yeah, we're gonna make this work. Rigging it like big time, it's not working. So how are you all today? I swear I should have done this before I started this. So you guys, I wanted to talk to you a little bit because it's the holidays, and around the holidays we all tend to sit around and start kind of reminiscing in our brains and start to think about stuff. And normally our human mind always goes to the negative. It's just the way we're programmed. From way back, way back, as probably as far as you can tell, we've all been programmed to go straight to sadness or fear. And today I want to talk about sadness and the sadness that is created within you, which usually one day I was driving, and a lot of my stuff comes in while I'm driving, and it something occurred to me that was pretty profound, and I wanted to share that with you. And it really helped me to deal with sadness, what creates sadness, how to not resist what's going on in this world, because that's what actually creates sadness. So for instance, I have, you may know some folks that may or may not be living their life according to the way you believe we should be living our lives. And we all have different opinions on what that is. Some of us could care less about material stuff, and some of us are status people, and we got to have everything, and we got to be keeping up with the Joneses. And depending on where you stand, it doesn't matter. So I'm talking to all of you. Whether you're the one that is just fine with everything being simple, and you don't need much money, and everything's just cool, and then from the people to have status symbols and cars and houses and all that stuff. So we all come into every situation we have our lives, and what we believe, what we live our lives according to, whatever, right? It doesn't matter what it is, but we all live our lives according to something. And when we do that, we assume that because we think that life should be A, B, C, or D, you should be living in a certain way, you should have a certain home, you should have certain things if you have children, you should have a certain job, all these things. So we base our lives according to what we believe we want in this world. So if I believe that we need to be, striving for a bigger, better home, bigger, better cars, bigger, better everything, then I'm going to expect that whomever I'm around somehow be that too. And if you're not that way, I could probably walk away from every situation and think, how sad. How sad that this person doesn't have A, B, C, or D. Or how sad that this or this happened to A, B, C, or D. Or it's so sad that, I just wish that so and so would get their shit together and start living a good life, because this life is awesome and great and wonderful. So we do that. We do that with everyone. Everyone does it to us. And the first thing that occurred to me when I was doing it was when I was coming home from somewhere, and the energy of the people that I had just left was really kind of just, you know. And I kept thinking, I just wish that they would, you know, get a better job so they can have more money so they don't have to be broke. Um, Start healing yourself so that you can start living the joys of this life and as opposed to the negatives of this life. Um, you see people living the same lives that they've been living since for 20, 30 years. I go back home and people are living the same lives they were living 20 or 30 years. And they just keep playing this program of that same life over and over and over and over. And I don't. My life is constantly ever changing. It's always shifting. And my life is pretty cool. I love my life. And I realized that my sadness for other folks was really me judging them. And me thinking that because I believe I want this, or that, you go and you look and you hang out with folks and you start judging according to your wants, beliefs, or whatever. And you automatically assume that, well, if I want this, then they must want it too. So if we were to realize that everyone is living the exact life that they desire and require, and they're fine with working, supporting their families, working in the industries or doing things that maybe I wouldn't be doing. So I realized that my sadness was coming from me believing that they were living a shitty life because they lived in a certain place or they just didn't have much money or whatever. And they've been doing this for like 20, 30 years. I came to realize that probably the reason that they're doing that is because maybe they're cool with that. They're cool with having their lives the way that it is. They're cool with having to not have enough money to pay their bills. They're cool with all of that. And the reason I believe that they're cool with it is because they keep living that. So normally people will break out of certain things. And if the people that haven't, I want to welcome you to not judge them, to realize that that is their journey. And stop being sad for them. Some people do have some sad situations and they would really love to get out of it. But if you're an adult and you've been living your life a certain way and you keep living that life a certain way, I have to come to the conclusion that there's something about that life you really like. So who am I to judge you for having or not having the things that I think you should be having or not having, or the life that you should be having, or the relationships you should be having, or the job you should be having? So when you go into sadness this Christmas, because we all do, I want to welcome you to realize that we're all living our own journey. And if we all wanted change, really wanted it, we're going to create it. We're going to create that change in our lives. And maybe those people that we are looking and watching and they're not quite there yet, we need to have compassion for them. And compassion to realize that they're good. They're good. And we are being sad. We're sad because, and I'm talking about adults. I'm not talking about children. Children are complete opposite. Children are prisoners of life until they grow up. They have to live a certain life. They have to live according to mom and dad or whatever their dynamic is, because it's different nowadays. So children are very much different because they can't change things. They can't just change their mentality and start changing their lives. They have to go according to mom and dad or whatever family dynamic they're in. So I'm not talking about children. I'm talking about us adults that sit around and we're sad about certain things that are happening in certain people's lives, that have been repeatedly happening their entire lives, probably for the last 10, 12, 30 years. It's time for us to stop being sad for them and acknowledging that they are good with where they are, and let them be there and leave them in that space, hold space for them, and realize that we're all different, and they choose something different, and they keep choosing something different, and we need to acknowledge that and accept that. And when you realize that, it shifts the whole energy from sadness and almost empathy, like feeling sorry for somebody, to acceptance. Accepting that person for exactly who they are, accepting that person for exactly who they are, good, bad, right, or wrong. That's what it means to. So, and loving them, despite the fact that they're doing things that you may or may not think are right, and still loving them for that. And some folks, we just can't. We got to let them go. And that's super cool. But today I wanted to talk to you about sadness and where sadness comes from. And 9 times out of 10, I can guarantee you when you're feeling sad, it's because you're thinking, like, another epiphany. The epiphany that got me was this. I was driving down like the road, like I told you, and I saw a cow. It was so hot outside, and this cow is just sitting there in the no cover, and I went to, oh my God, poor baby, oh my God, it would be horrible to be a cow. And then I realized, Michelle, really? And it hit me that those were my projections, because I wouldn't want to be out in the sun. I wouldn't want to be out with the flies and all this insects, and I sent the energy to the cow, like, you poor baby, how sad that you are a cow and you're standing out in the middle of the sun. What came in was, Michelle, how do you not know that this cow is having the time of its life? It's free. It's living there, grazing freely amongst this huge pasture. It's looks like it's having a good life. It's an animal that is used to being outside in the elements. And here I'm judging and saying, oh, you poor baby. And sending that energy to the cow, and then finally acknowledging that, wow, this cow could be like this freaking happy cow. And here I am still judging this cow because I wouldn't want to be out there standing in the heat. And so I realized, no, stop doing that. The other day too, I saw an animal that had been killed. And I would keep going to, like, oh, my poor baby, somebody should have taken, it's always something, like that animal should have been dead. And when you start looking at death, which I do a lot, because I am a past life regressionist and I study death and what happens at death. And when you past life regress people, you actually take them to experience their death. And so I'm realizing that I lost my train of thought. Anyways, you guys, so many blessings to you. When you're feeling sad, ask yourself why you're sad. And if it's you projecting yourself and your thoughts, feelings, and opinions about the way you live your life onto someone else, destroy and uncreate all that. Time to Godzilla and return to center with consciousness attached. Because, well, actually you're the sender, because you're the one sending that negative energy. We're sending all this negative energy to people that are actually enjoying their lives. So let's spread more love, light. Blessings to you all. I'm going to get back to pounding this rock so that I can create powder to put into some dominoes. This is Blue Apatite. Looks pretty cool, don't you think? I think it'll work. And this is going to be the backs of the dominoes. This is a commissioned piece. So blessings to you all, love and light. Check me out at jujuvibes.com. Peace out.